Hi friends, it's Amy. Welcome to my channel. Today I am starting a video in which I will talk about all of the books that Krista made me read. So let's get to it. All right, so we'll start with story time. I was on a live in July with Krista at Books and Jams. I'll link it down below. It's really fun if you haven't watched it. And some shadiness of my past came up in which I haven't read three particularly wonderful books that have been on my TBR for a really long time. I just have never read them. So Krista challenged me to read three books in August, like three certain books in August. And the first one that I finished is The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. Holy buckets. This book is so good. If you have not read this book, you need to, not be like me and read it as soon as you hear about it. Holy cow. All right. So this book is about Ada or Ada. I'm not sure which. But she was born with a club foot. So her foot is shaped in a way that the bottom of her foot is actually facing upwards. It's fairly severe. It's very painful for her to walk. And her mother, her biological mother, who is... I haven't seen East of Eden, but if the main villain in East of Eden is worse than the villainy that is the mother in this book, good gracious, because her mother doesn't let her go to school. She has to sit at the window and she can look out the window. That's all she can do. She isn't allowed to go to the bathroom. She has to use a bucket. And she tells her that the devil put a mark on her and she's too embarrassing to live. And she's basically lucky that her mother lets her live. Ada has a younger brother, Jamie. Jamie gets to go to school. So Jamie doesn't really get how living at home is too bad. He doesn't love how his mom treats Ada because he loves Ada and looks up to Ada, but he just doesn't really get it or see it because he's 6. So, but it is the 1930s, the late 1930s. So Hitler has power in Germany and is trying to take over other countries and threatening to bomb different places. London is considered a high bombing probability. So a lot of the parents decide to send their children to Kent in order to save them from being bombed. So they evacuate the children. So Ada at first is not going to be evacuated because she doesn't go to school, so nobody knows about her. But she runs away with Jamie and she goes to live in Kent with Jamie. And they are kind of pushed into a foster home situation by somebody who wasn't really thinking they were going to take in any kids, but Susan Smith is a reluctant savior of these two children. She tries to fight for the kids in order to get everything out of life that they can while they are with her. She is just awesome. But she's kind of crabby when they first get there for reasons you can read about in here. She also has horses, and Ada learns how to ride horses, and she lives near an airfield, and Jamie just loves watching the planes take off, and it's just wonderful. So Ada realizes that, there are things that she actually can do. She is capable of learning things, and she's capable of having a life that isn't sitting in a chair looking out a window and defecating in a bucket. This book made me cry. This book made me laugh. This book helped me learn about a real event of the evacuation of children that I didn't really know a lot about during World War II. It is fabulous. The depiction of Ada's psyche after having to deal with the trauma that she's been through with her mother, it feels very authentic. I haven't been through that trauma, thankfully. So I don't know that it's authentic, but it felt authentic. And I just, yeah. So anyway, that is book number 1 finished, The War That Saved My Life. All right, so it's a couple days later. I have finished book number 2, which is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. So, to be completely honest, I was pretty frustrated at the beginning of this book because I kept on getting distracted, and I would be listening and then I would have to rewind it because I would lose my focus. And that was just how it was going for me. And it was very frustrating. It felt jumpy. It felt so weird. Then I realized I needed to slow down. Once I realized that, and I did slow down, and I focused more on what I was doing, it turns out I really enjoyed this book. So, weird. Okay. So Bilbo Baggins is a hobbit who lives in a hobbit hole. Very famous first line. And he is approached by Gandalf the Wizard, who wants him to go on an adventure, which is very much a part of what one side of his family is like, but the other side of his family does not like adventures and likes to stay at home. So he tells the wizard he'd rather not and goes back into his house. Well, the next day, 13 dwarves show up at his house and all ready for an adventure. So he kind of gets manhandled into going on this adventure to find the dwarves' treasure. Right? Yeah, the dwarves' treasure. And it's filled with these whimsical, mystical creatures. It's really fun. And as I said, the pace was too fast for me at first. But that's because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. So as I got more into making sure that I was following it along and paying attention, I actually started over because I missed so much goodness in the first chapter of this book that I'm really glad that I actually did do that. It grew on me so much, and I really did enjoy it. It definitely is not a book that I could have just listened to, or listened to and done something else, like worked on a project or anything like that. I needed to be focused on what I was listening to, and I actually was reading and following along on my digital copy as well, and that worked really well for me. There were parts of it, if I was out somewhere like where I couldn't listen, I did actually just read that part of it and then catch up on the audio later. So I did really do some on audio and some just on digital. So it was a really fun experience. I loved meeting Gollum. He's a really fun character. I enjoyed the banter between all of the characters. I really liked how each of the elves, I can't remember all of their names, but I can see all of their personalities. Or not elves, dwarves. I can see their personalities. Like they each had their own individual personality. And I just thought that was so cool, so creative and wonderful. So I really did enjoy it a lot. I loved all of the references that I've been hearing my whole life that always went over my head. I get them now, and I don't know. So that made me feel good. So yeah, I really did enjoy my reading of The Hobbit. I did not enjoy it as much as I loved The War That Saved My Life, but I did enjoy it. So I'm really glad that I can check this bucket list book off of my TBR. I'll see you later. I'll see you in a bit. All right, I'm back to say I can no longer be counted among those readers who have never read Anne of Green Gables. I wasn't ready for this. I was not fully prepared for this. I knew I'd love it. I did. And man, I don't know what took me so long. I read quite a few parts with my eyes, but I also listened to a great deal of it. The audio is narrated by Rachel McAdams, and oh my goodness, she does a fabulous job. Listening to her read the part of Anne where Anne is so excited about everything and wonderful, everything is wonderful and great, and it's just, and so dramatic, and it's beautiful. And then when she switches to the other characters, and it's just, she does such a great job. And I'm almost kind of sad that she didn't do all of them, you know, like she just did the first one. But, oh man, talk about a book that has made me laugh, made me cry, both good and both happy and sad tears. Man, I have had a very trying week, and this book helped me through it. So, ugh, man. So, I have read my 3 books that I was challenged to read by Krista. I put that in quotes because she didn't actually challenge me to read The Hobbit in August, and I forgot. I've mentioned that. So I read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Really enjoyed it. Definitely was not my favorite of the 3 books that I read. War That Saved My Life. Man, I do have almost a full week before school starts, and man, September I am going to be reading The War I Finally Won. And, well, maybe. I have a lot of books on the radar for September, and I don't think I'm going to get to them all, and that makes me sad. But it's also the beginning of a school year, so what are you going to do, right? And finally, Anne of Green Gables. Does anybody know where I can get my hands on the original Anne movie? Definitely going to be watching Anne with an E on Netflix, but I'm sad that this is done. Like, and I can never read Anne of Green Gables for the first time ever again. Anyway, thank you, Krista at Books and Jams, for giving me the push that I needed to read these 3 books. I'm so glad that I read them, and I really feel fully qualified to be a language arts teacher. So there you have it. Just in time for school. What are your thoughts on The Hobbit, Anne of Green Gables, and The War That Saved My Life? Have you read them? Are they on your list to read? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Put your thoughts down in the comments. I would love to have a conversation with you. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to. Give this video a like if you would like me to get some opinions from others, to put some books on my TBR. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.